Welcome to a journey through time that is rarely discussed in the light of day. We are taught that the United States was born in 1776, a land founded on principles of liberty and justice for all. But if you look closer, beneath the layers of sanitized history, you will find a much darker and more complex reality. This continent did not begin with the founding fathers. It began 30,000 years ago in a world of ice, shadow, and survival. Before the skyscrapers, before the Constitution, and before the first European ship ever touched these shores, there was a land of ancient secrets. Today we open the dark history vault. We are going beyond the myths to reveal the true evolution of America. A 30,000-year odyssey forged in blood, ambition, and mystery. From the freezing winds of the Bering Land Bridge to the nuclear shadows of the 20th century and the smoke of modern global conflicts, prepare yourself, because the history you know is about to change. Stay with us as we uncover the ghosts of empires past and the hidden forces that shaped the most powerful nation on Earth. 30,000 years ago, the planet was in the grip of a relentless ice age. Massive glaciers miles thick locked up the Earth's water, causing the sea levels to drop by hundreds of feet. In this frozen world, a secret passage emerged from the depths of the ocean, Beringia. This was a massive land bridge, 1,000 miles wide, connecting the edge of Siberia to the wilderness of Alaska. Across this desolate, windswept tundra, the first humans embarked on one of the most perilous migrations in history. These Paleo-Americans weren't just hunters, they were survivors facing impossible odds. They shared this land with giants, woolly mammoths, short-faced bears, and saber-toothed cats. For 20,000 years, this bridge was the only path to a new world. But time was running out. 10,000 years ago, as the climate warmed, the glaciers began to collapse. The oceans rose with terrifying speed, swallowing Beringia and trapping these people on a new, isolated continent. They moved south, through narrow corridors between the ice, eventually spreading from the tip of Alaska to the farthest reaches of South America. They were the first true Americans, yet their voices were silenced by the sands of time. By the time the first Europeans arrived, they claimed to have discovered a virgin wilderness. But this was one of history's greatest lies. They did not find an empty land. They found a continent of empires. In the Ohio and Mississippi River valleys, the Adena and Hopewell cultures had already built massive, mysterious earthworks and burial mounds that rivaled the pyramids in their precision. Further south, the city of Cahokia stood as a testament to indigenous power, a metropolis with a population larger than London at its peak. In the northeast, the Iroquois Confederacy established a sophisticated democracy, a league of nations with a constitution that focused on peace and collective power. Across the vast Pacific, Polynesian navigators used only the stars and the ocean currents to find the isolated islands of Hawaii, building a kingdom of warriors and priests. These were cultures of deep science, complex spirituality, and advanced social structures. They had ruled this land for thousands of years, building civilizations that were as grand as any in Europe or Asia. But in the late 15th century, a storm was brewing in the Atlantic, a storm that would bring a dark and violent end to their way of life. As the 18th century progressed, the tension between the colonies and the British Crown reached a breaking point. The cry of "no taxation without representation" became a rallying call for rebellion. The Boston Tea Party of 1773 was the spark that ignited the American Revolution. In 1776, 13 colonies dared to proclaim their independence, triggering a brutal war against the most powerful empire on Earth. Under the leadership of George Washington, a ragtag army of farmers and merchants faced the professional British military. Against all odds, and with the help of France, they emerged victorious in 1783. But the birth of the nation was just the beginning of its expansion. In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson seized an opportunity that would double the size of the country. For just $15 million, he purchased the Louisiana Territory from France, a massive land deal that opened the West. But this expansion meant one thing for the native tribes: a long, dark road of displacement and war as the young United States marched toward the Pacific. 1492 marked the beginning of a global cataclysm. When Christopher Columbus landed in the Caribbean, he didn't just find a new world. He opened the door for a wave of European hunger that could not be satisfied. The Spanish Empire carved through the south, searching for gold and glory, while France moved into the north. But it was the English who would leave the most permanent mark on the eastern seaboard. In 1607, the establishment of Jamestown marked a turning point. It was a colony built on desperation and survival, eventually finding its wealth in the soil through tobacco. But this wealth came at a horrific price. By the 1770s, the colonial economy was fueled by the sweat and blood of enslaved Africans. 1/5 of the entire American population was living in chains, imported to work the massive plantations of the South. The American dream was being constructed on a foundation of human suffering, a dark paradox that would haunt the nation for centuries to come. The colonies expanded rapidly, pushing deeper into native lands fueled by an ambition that ignored the cost of life. The 19th century was defined by a house divided. In 1861, the tension over the enslavement of black people and state rights exploded into the American Civil War. It was a conflict of brother against brother, resulting in over 600,000 deaths, the bloodiest chapter in the nation's history. Under Abraham Lincoln, the Union eventually triumphed. Slavery was officially banned, and the country began the slow, painful process of reconstruction. But as the 20th century dawned, America's gaze turned outward. Following the Spanish-American War, the U.S. took control of the Philippines, Puerto Rico, and Guam, signaling its arrival as a global power. The two world wars further solidified this status. In 1945, the world watched in horror and awe as the United States dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, ending World War II and ushering in the nuclear age. The superpower had arrived, but it would soon find itself locked in a Cold War with the Soviet Union, a decades-long struggle of spies, propaganda, and proxy wars in Korea and Vietnam that threatened to bring the world to the brink of destruction. The transition into the 21st century was marked by a new kind of darkness. On September 11, 2001, the world changed forever as the towers fell in New York City. This event triggered the War on Terror, leading to long, costly conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. Domestic struggles also continued, from the civil rights movements of the 1960s to the economic crisis of 2008, proving that even the most powerful nation is not immune to internal collapse. The history of the United States is not a simple story of progress. It is a cycle of shadow and light, growth and sacrifice. From the first hunters crossing the frozen Bering Bridge to the digital soldiers of today, the journey of this land is defined by its secrets. As we close the vault on this chapter, remember that history is always living beneath the surface. Thank you for joining us on Dark History Vault. If you want to uncover more hidden truths, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. The past is never truly gone, it is just waiting to be rediscovered. See you in the next episode.